Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, as you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. Recording episode before D&D tonight. What's D&D going to be like tonight? As always, with this campaign, I'm not entirely sure. I now have a solidified idea, at least, of what this arc might look like. But the day-to-day is going to be a little bit more difficult because, again, they haven't actually made it to the location yet. So I don't know what direction that they're going to want to go in, is what makes it so difficult, really, to figure it out. But hello there, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, 6:17 PM on Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Again, that's not a bad thing. It's just more so I'm just like, okay, I figured out, I've sat down, figured out exactly kind of how I want these story arc character beats to go. I don't think this one will be that long a story arc, I think, or at least getting to the crux of it. But the problem I'm finding, I suppose, in my planning of it is I think the resolution for it is a little bit open-ended, which may or may not make it a little bit unsatisfying. I don't know is a problem. I can think of ways to make it kind of satisfying. And actually, I literally just thought of a way which maybe that is a better way than what I was initially planning. So I have some ideas, at the very least. I don't know necessarily what would be best though. I'm now like, the dangerous thing about looking too far ahead with this grouping campaign is in a matter of seconds, everything you have could be like rendered completely impossible. So that's why I'm like, I've only got like the barest things sort of like set up, and then I've got like some of the NPCs that they'll run into. Again, they don't have many ties here, so I think a lot of the NPCs might become promoted NPCs in the case that like I don't intend them to be that important because this region was more intended. I don't want to like peek behind the curtain too much, but essentially they're in a region which was intended to be more like a lore region, right, rather than like a story arc region. I thought that they might go there, but I thought they might go there with a very direct purpose much later in the campaign, rather than where they are now, where they're sort of just like, we'll sort of vaguely try and find this thing out. Which is, again, totally fine, because it makes sense. I understand their decisions, but obviously, as a DM, that makes me be like, okay, well, this part isn't as fleshed out as some of the other kingdoms are. I don't, what's it going to look like? What sort of people are there? Like, what sort of organizations do I need to introduce them to? And part of me is just kind of like, well, I guess I don't need to, because, I mean, at the end of the day, they will probably find their own NPCs that they want to talk to, and then they'll become upgraded NPCs where they get like an image art and a solidified voice. Rather than just sort of being improvised in the moment. I mean, that's what happened with like one of the character's literal wife was literally just a blacksmith in the opening town, and eventually is now got upgraded to get a visual art, and has recurred many times throughout the campaign. Well, mainly through her voice, but still. That therein is the beauty of D&D, to allow such random things to happen. So I feel like I don't know, my headset's like on wrong. I feel like I haven't slept as well as maybe I liked recently, or maybe I've like woken up in the middle of my sleep cycles. I don't know, maybe I should go to sleep early today or something, because I feel like it just hit me, like as I was recording this, I just felt like a sort of slight pain in my forehead. Not an actual ache is probably a better word. Wow, there's so many weeds here. And I was like, that's probably not conducive. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe I should actually go to sleep a bit earlier today. Get some, maybe I'm in far higher sleep than I initially imagined. But anyway, not the point. The point being, what is the point? I don't know what my point is, to be honest. We're making a layer of 4, so yes, we need another layer of Lily of the Valleys over here. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think a lot of the organizations aren't going to be that interesting for them here. So again, it's because I don't know what they might or might not want to latch onto, what they might find interesting. I do have like a hook for them, and I'm pretty sure I know what they're going to do, at least from their sort of vague gesticulations. But otherwise, it's like a who could know, But otherwise, what are we going to talk about? You know what I can talk about? It's a very interesting thing, which respected member of, my friend, but I was going to introduce him as respected member of the Dear Darling community. Fodian has, if you've seen it with Dear Darling Discord, you're free to join. But basically, there's this like music league thing going on, which I didn't really know what it was. Like when I first had it described, I thought it was like a creative writing group, but a creative music composition group, and I was like, whoa, okay. I didn't expect like music composition to be a thing that, you know, us as a friend group are diving into, but I'd be like, you know, that sounds like could be a good thing to sort of motivate. I mean, the writing group was really great to get me writing. Right now, it's kind of sort of non-existent, but still. I thought it was a fun time. But what it actually is, it's perhaps better described as a fantasy league, but with music sharing. Because as I understand it, it's essentially that there will be prompts every, I don't know how often it is, maybe every 2 weeks or every week or something, which will be posted. And then what happens is everyone in that group submits a song which they think fits a prompt. And then everyone takes some time to like listen to each other's, and then, you know, I guess you rate up your favourite ones. It says downvotes are on, so I guess you can downvote the ones you don't like as well, which seems, I'm not sure if I'm going to be out there downvoting anything, unless it's like, I don't know. It seems a bit harsh, to be honest, but I guess it would only be if it like really didn't fit the theme or something. But I guess, you know, the point of the themes is that they're meant to be interpretive. That's a beautiful thing about art. You know, beautiful thing about science are definitive answers. A beautiful thing about art is that there are no definitive answers. And you might be like, is that a contradiction? No, I don't believe so. Because I think they can be very beautiful in their own separate ways. So I think the prompts up to your interpretation will probably be defined more so by whichever one gets the most upvotes or something. I don't really know. Anyway, I don't have like a crazy large musical palette. Hold on. I don't have a crazy large musical experience is what I should say. My palette's pretty like good. Like I definitely am one of those people who sort of like, you can put anything on in like the car radio on a journey, I'll drive, like do it, I'll be fine. I probably wouldn't go out to my way to listen to like all types of music. I think that'd be disingenuous, but I don't mind most types of music essentially. I definitely have specific ones I gravitate towards, but I'm pretty sure that at least, you know, within my friend group or whatever, I probably listen to music less than the average person. Or if I do listen to music, like, I mean, from a quantifiable amount in my life, have I listened to more music than my friends? I actually still don't think that's true. But if it would be true, it would probably be due to like doing musical instruments or learning musical instruments as I was growing up. So it's like not modern music, it's much more classical. Or Baroque or Romantic, or modern. In the frame of 1900s onwards, I think. I wonder if the music theory has changed. Oh no, sorry, 21st century onwards or 20th century? I can't remember anymore. I'm trying to remember what the music theory exam of these music instruments were. But yeah, so I don't have as much like a wide taste. Like the songs I know tend to be like the title tracks and popular songs on the thing. And I assume this music league is meant to be more of a sharing of different types of songs. Like I don't expect people to go in here and be like, oh, you know, like songs which, like if a theme is like songs which contain a number, people are going to be submitting like Taylor Swift 22 or something, because it's like, okay, well that's a pretty popular song. Or like love songs, and people submit Taylor Swift Love Story because that's a song which genuinely so many people know. I think it's meant to be more so to show off like more very specific things, even if maybe Love Story does fit the song better than maybe a song you do submit at the end. The idea is you're meant to be showing, well, at least I think how we're doing it is we're like showing off songs that other people being like, hey, you know, check out this sort of style of song. It's like something different. You know, we all have very different tastes that we prefer. So this is like an opportunity to see that reflected in the choices you make. Now, there's one exception to songs which I'm significantly more familiar with than the average person, I think, and that ends up being things like East Asian pop. Is probably the way I'd put it. Mainly J-pop and K-pop. Not so much C-pop. I don't know that much C-pop. But yeah, so I'm like, I mean, if this is about sort of showing off different tastes, and not a lot of my friends listen to that sort of J-pop and K-pop, which is completely fine. Like, I don't expect them to. Again, it doesn't appeal to them. And as I often speak about, the reason most of these songs appeal to me is, to a certain extent, like with musical taste, I suppose, but a lot of the time does the song evoke like a certain story in my mind or a feeling, or do I relate it to a certain story, which makes me appreciate the song more, which is why a lot of them tend to be from like media properties I know. I submitted a K-pop song for this first theme, which would be interesting because I actually quite struggled with this theme. And then I was seeing the chats which people were doing, and they were like, "Oh, I've got like 40 songs to narrow it down from." And I was like, "You 40? What? Or like 20 or something?" I was like, "How?" But I mean, I'll tell you that the theme for this one was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Water. I.e., the theme was elements, or the natural elements, not the chemical elements. Earth, air, fire, water, and you were meant to submit a song which fits that theme. I don't know necessarily if the intention of a theme was like, oh, you only need to submit one which, as long as it follows one of the elements, is fine, or if it was meant to follow them all encompassed. But I don't know, I guess I can talk about my song here. I guess if you're musically and you don't want to be spoiled, I think it'll be very obvious which song is mine, because you'll look at it and be like, whoa, the song is not, it has Korean writing in it, that's clearly Dear Darling song. But yeah, like I very much struggled with this because I took it to be like, okay, it needs to be a song which generally represents the 4 elements. And well, the first thing I thought of was Vivaldi's 4 Seasons, which is not a song, I suppose. It's more like a symphony, right? I think that's a technical term for it. So that would be a bit difficult to a concerto. Sorry, not a concerti, sorry, not a symphony necessarily. I'd forget what the exact definitions are for each of these. And I was like, well, I'm not exactly going to do that. I'm not going to submit 12 orchestral sort of pieces together. So I was also like, okay, well, what else, sort of comes to mind? And I don't know, I think I just took the 4 elements to be the 4 seasons in some way, like they sort of go hand in hand in one way or another. I don't know if like this is a right interpretation, but again, I guess the interpretation is kind of like up to the beholder. And I thought of the K-pop song Oh My Girl's 5th Season. I don't know why, but I would say if it was to be associated with an element, it would definitely be air, mainly because it feels like such like a light, ethereal sort of song is how I described it. But to me, like, it makes sense because I also thought of, when I thought of 4 elements, I thought of like, oh, like fantasy, like 4 elements, like spell castings, mages and spells and that sort of thing. And that song sounds basically like ethereal fantasy song talking about not about the 4 seasons, but elements from the 4 seasons, essentially, which are represented through the 4 elements. Anyway, they talk about, like, essentially the 5th season that they describe is love, which, does that make sense? I don't know, but it's meant to be metaphorical, I suppose, in a way, about all these, like, conventional feelings that they feel throughout other seasons and reflected in the imagery that they use. And the 5th season is something which transcends it, which they see as something beyond, the physical existence. The physical manifestation, I suppose, they see in the conventional 4 seasons that they know. That's at least how I understand the lyrics of a song. But they talk about, love being like, it feels like a sort of like not a heat wave. I can't remember the exact words they use, but like summer heat, essentially, which makes them dizzy, or like love sort of flooding. Obviously, water metaphor, and there's something to do with wind. I can't remember. There's a lot to do with like plants and growth and so while I'd say musically it sounds like it's an air element, I would say lyrically mostly it's earth element, and there's some bits of fire and water in there. I don't really know, like, it's kind of in there. It's not a huge amount more. I mean, it's pretty difficult to get a song representing all 4 natural elements, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's a song I quite like for its musical melodies. It's sort of like a song which very much builds, and I think honestly it fits kind of like my aesthetic of like ethereal sounding things, which I quite like. But yeah, so that's what I've submitted. I don't know what other people are going to think of it. I don't know what other people are submitting. Do I expect to win this musical league? No. I didn't even realise it was a competitive thing until I saw that there was a leaderboard. But I am very curious about what people will or will not say. Will or will not submit. It turns out I was the last person to submit. I didn't know how people thought of their songs so quickly. But I can say I can see the upcoming songs. And I think probably I'll just lean into it, you know. I don't have like... For mainstream music, I don't have very sort of like esoteric knowledge on like obscure songs and that sort of thing. So might as well bring in my niche, which I do know. And, you know, it'll be like an added game, somewhat of like sending in songs from my own specific knowledge base and using that. So I'm just switching which phone I'm charging to fit the themes. Like the next one is, I mean, I can tell you the themes that we have ongoing or coming up. So of course this one is the songs of the elements or natural elements. Live on Sunday. This Sunday? That doesn't give a lot of time to listen to the songs if it's on Friday. You have 2 days to listen to the songs. Or maybe it's next Sunday. Oh, maybe the rounds overlap. I didn't even consider this. It says they're released each Sunday. Okay, I see. The next one's autumnal. I do have an idea of a song, like a Japanese song, which works. I don't know if it will be in it on Spotify. I can't imagine it is. But it would be interesting. The next one's questionable choices. Title must be in form of a question. I immediately thought of another song. But I don't know how that's going to work. Fear factor. Music that explores fear or something you're fearful of. I immediately thought of another song as well. Okay, you know? I think, like, I certainly do better with ones which are, like, telethematic or story. Not a thematic, sorry. Evoke a feeling, because I suppose that's how I associate with songs. Ones which are a bit more physical, about, like, natural elements, I'm kind of like, huh? But yeah, I guess I mean, we'll just sort of see what people submit for it. Yeah, I think the autumnal one might be a bit difficult. 'Cause, I mean, it's a bit hard to think of something like straight off the top of my head. I mean, I could check in Spotify if a song I'm thinking of is even there. I don't think it will be. To be honest, I'll honestly be shocked if it is. Wow, it is. Never mind. That's surprising. It seems like it's the short version though, which is okay, I guess. But that song again, like, I don't know. That's because it's no, I'm not going to spoil it. Maybe I'll think of another one. I'll turn it over. But yeah. I'm going to be posting some very strange, obscure songs, which is, again, probably, I think, encouraged, if anything. So I'm very curious about what will end up from it. And maybe I don't know when the playlist or whatever will be finalised, but, you know, I did also lose my headphones recently. That was quite sad. But I've ordered some new ones, some audio-technical ones, or sound something brand. I can't remember what the brand's called. But yeah, I'm excited. You know, we have, not only obviously Fodian is here, and it's some of my other friends who very vaguely sometimes come into the Twitch chat are there as well, or leave comments, but we also have MSMX, you know, from our community there. I don't know if we have anyone else from our Dear Darling community in there. But yeah, I mean, feel free to join and just be a reasonable person, I suppose, if you want to. I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm excited to expand my musical palette. Even if none of these songs end up being like, oh yeah, I'll put this on my, like, play on a daily basis sort of soundtrack, I'm still curious to hear what there is. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.